I just got back from the Reiki session. It wasn't really Reiki. I mean, it was a part of it, but that's not what it was. It was like a women's group, and I'm not going to speak on that because, one, as a skeptic, I don't have the vocabulary or the language to describe it probably without inadvertently being insulting, and that's not what I want to do. I am no less skeptical, but I want to tell the story of three women. And to be most fair, I'm just going to tell them in order of their birth. And the first is Vivian. Vivian did not start out named Vivian. She gave that name to herself. Her name was Modestina, and she did not like it. So as a child, she told people, "Nope, my name is Vivian. That's what I'm answering to. That's what I'm gonna call. That's what I want to be called." And on her license, it says Vivian Modestina with her last name, which I always thought that was pretty great. She's my mother's mother, and since I know my Aunt Mary's watching, if I get anything wrong, it's not because I'm lying. It's because, she knew her better than I did because she was her daughter. And she was probably there for some of it. Grandma had a rough life all the way through. Until maybe the last 4 years, she had it hard. That is not my story. But Vivian left me with a lot of gifts. I think if there's anybody in the world that I am most like, it is her. She taught me to listen more than I speak, and it's her gift for storytelling that I have that allows me to do things like post these videos. And I showed people her picture, and they said that I looked most like her, and I agree. I do. I look like her. I also look like my dad, but I look like Vivian. And I've always wanted to be more like her. And it turns out there was a reason for that, because it's true. Grandma did not have a lot of money. Grandma did not have a lot. But you would never have known it. That her house was always warm and welcoming. And anything you wanted, she provided for you. No questions asked. And she told me the story of her life as long as I can remember. And she didn't feel sorry for herself. In fact, her eyes were always sparkling and full of joy. And when she laughed, she would throw her head back, and it would be so loud. And sometimes I catch myself doing the same thing. Vivian is right. Vivian was lively. The next is Betty. Betty is my father's mother. And if ever an angel walked this earth, it was Betty. She didn't tell stories like Vivian did, but she did listen. She listened to everybody, and she listened without judgment, and she just loved. She loved you if you were kind to her. She loved you if you didn't talk to her for a week. Her door was always open. You could drop in any time, and she would sit there with you and listen to you and cook for you until she got Alzheimer's and slowly lost herself. But her goodness, she never lost. Her kindness was never taken away by that horrible disease. And I was the one to take care of her in her last years. I was really too young to do it, but I would do it again in a heartbeat because she took care of me when I needed it the most. I was always at her house. And I'm sure it's because she wanted to protect me from what was going on at home. Just the neglect and the emotional abuse. She never said a bad word about anybody. But I know that one time somebody threatened one of her sons, and she actually cursed. Betty did not curse. Betty was kindness personified. And the world, when we lost her, lost something very special. And if I can be even half of the woman that she was, I will have been successful. The third one is different. The third one was my next door neighbor, Emiko. Talk about welcoming somebody into her home. She would always tell me, just walk in, don't knock. You are welcome here anytime, and it was true. I was always over there. If I wasn't at my grandma's house, I was next door. I was friends with both of her children, and I babysat her youngest, her third and youngest. But it was more than that. She never treated me differently. She never said a bad word to me, and even if I was awkward and stupid. She's gone now, and I did visit her before she went, and she did say that she thought of me as one of her own. And that means something to me, because she didn't owe me anything. I was dirty and smelly and neglected, and she welcomed me into her home, and she never made me feel bad about anything. There was never an unkind word from her. When I had lice in 3rd grade, my mother didn't notice. My father, my brother, nobody noticed. But Emiko did. She found the lice and she told people. Now, I'm sure it's because she didn't want me scratching and passing it on to her kids. I get it. But it means something to me. I've always remembered that she was the one who found it. She was the one that pulled me aside and looked through my hair and gently told me that there was something wrong. And nobody had taken notice of me like that before. When she died recently, I sort of, not long after, started moving into my liver journey. And I'm not really sure that I've even dealt with her loss. But I'll occasionally see a picture of her, and I'll remember that she always told me, do not bother to knock, just walk in. And I never did, because I was way too shy. But just hearing those words from somebody meant something. They were my family too. And each of these women has stayed with me my whole life. And there are aspects of them that I carry with me. And that is what I got from tonight. I was able to remember and, in a way, pay homage to these women who cared for me. Perhaps knowing that if they didn't, who would? Emiko didn't owe me anything, but she cared for me just as, at times, it seemed like more than my own mother. Which I realize my mom's actions don't betray her feelings. Right now she is in the middle of her own personal hell, and I remind myself of that every time. So, all 3 of those women are gone now. But I carry them with me every day, and I'm grateful for them. Because without all 3 of them, I wouldn't be anything like what I am. So, thank you for watching, and I will talk to you soon.